Tim's News Explosion. 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 Tim's News Explosion.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tim's News Explosion on this Monday, the 12th of February, 2024. We are live on the Wilmsfront YouTube channel, the Wilmsfront Odyssey channel, and the Wilmsfront Rumble channel. Hello to everyone who are in the live chats. Good to see you, Brucey, and interesting videos. I don't think I've ever seen your account before, but it's great to have you on board for a show. It is 9 p.m. here in Melbourne, Victoria, where our late summer local boiling continues. It was another 30-degree plus day today, as was the day before, and will be tomorrow, which is, well, better late than never the summer. Remember that the first 2 months of summer, it was rained and rained and rained, despite the Bureau of Meteorology telling us it was going to be a dry El Nino. I don't know, maybe the calendar is eventually getting out of whack for some reason. The timekeepers are not actually keeping time. And there's some weird glitch that maybe we're not measuring the 365 days in the year properly. Who knows here? Now, down here in Victoria, we of course have the biggest event of the year, Taylor Swift performing at the MCG. I think it's on Friday and Saturday night. There's going to be extra public transport. She's going to go on a private jet from her boyfriend's Super Bowl win. Now, I'm going to be discussing, was the Super Bowl rigged, on the return of The Theorist tomorrow night with Andy Nolch, which is the same time, but on the Theorist channel. I'll talk about the return of The Theorist later on. We also had the Mr. COVID commander return, Jerome Weimar, the failed COVID commander, failed Commonwealth Games chief, since they were cancelled. He's now going to be in charge of Victoria's big housing build. Yikes, that doesn't bode well. People are saying, does he have stuff on like the Labor politicians, videos of them doing something that he can just continue to fail up this bureaucrat? Because he's, whatever role that he does, is always on $500,000 per year. But, you know, that's just standard Victorian cronyism. We are obviously, we're almost a one-party state here in Victoria, with the Labor Party under Dan Andrews re-elected in 2022. Though Queenslanders, they have a state election on October 26th this year, and they will get to cast their judgment whether they think that their new Premier, Steven Miles, who before that was the Deputy Premier, is capable of tackling that state's youth gang crime crisis. Now, I put youth in inverted commas because, well, they don't like to mention skin color when it comes to describing these youths. Now, they're not all Africans of Sudanese appearance, these youth gang crimes who break into people's homes. We obviously had the horrific stabbing of Valine White last week down at Red Plains Shopping Centre, stabbed to death by a 16-year-old Sudanese teenager. He was with a gang of 5. They wanted to steal her car. But we should also remember there was a mother who lost her life not the Christmas before, but it was Christmas 2022. And we should also remember her name as well. I'll just bring it up now because I think it's important. Emma Lovell, 41. She was murdered in a home invasion. Her husband Lee was also stabbed defending their home from intruders. And don't forget the death of Ash Gordon, a doctor here in Melbourne, chasing after two teenagers who stole his car. One of them was already on bail. So we should always remember these lives cut short, and the families who are devastated. So we know that with the Ash Gordon murder, one of the teens charged was out on bail, and in this case, the Sudanese youth who's been charged with Verlene White's stabbing murder was also out on bail. Now, Steven Miles, the new Premier last week, well, new-ish, it took over from Anastasia Palaszczuk at the end of last year. He was asked by Sky News reporter Adam Walters about the state's youth crime crisis at a speech he was giving on the state's housing crisis in the Q&A section.
The absence of any reference to youth crime in your speech to the Queensland Media Club would have been noted by more than a few, including the people of those communities. Premier, I'm sure you can see the last 2 summers have been bookended by the murders of young mother Emma Lovell and just 3 days ago, grandmother Verlene White.
But nobody can seriously stand up and say they could have prevented this murder.
And Steven Miles sought to clarify that no one in Queensland, myself included, is laughing at this tragedy, and for any news outlet to suggest so is disrespectful. A family and a community is grieving. Sensational headlines and misrepresentations have no part to play in Queensland this week. Yes, forget your lying ears. You heard Adam Walters there, the Sky News Brisbane reporter, who's got a very serious newsreader's voice, certainly not a humorous voice. And so Adam Walters said, well, you didn't address in your speech the elephant in the room, youth crime crisis. And Steven Miles, I didn't mention it because it was about housing. And that was he tried to for some reason think that was a funny jibe at a journalist, and now he has the nickname Giggles Miles, which will haunt him all the way to the state election. I mean, the Queensland LNP, they just need to put that on repeat. It's already the election losing moment there. And now Verlene White's alleged stabber, well, we have to say alleged stabber killer. He can't be named because he's a minor, but he was arrested, I think, on Wednesday morning. This was, and 9 News, they interviewed his mother.
The mother of a teen out on bail when he allegedly murdered Verlene White has apologised to the Queensland grandmother's loved ones. Today's Andrea Crothers is live in Ipswich for us. Andrea, she also described the moment her son was arrested.
Yeah, Carl, we're learning more details about the accused killer of innocent grandmother Verlene White, a 16-year-old boy who we're told said to his mother, "I love you," as he was taken away and arrested by police. A 16-year-old boy whose family moved here as refugees when he was just a baby. And now it's also been revealed that he was out on bail at the time of Verlene's attack, on bail for stealing as well as armed robbery charges. His mother breaking her silence, clearly still in shock.
I'm sorry to the community because I didn't know that the kids do that.
Do you feel sorry for them?
Yeah, I feel sorry about that, yeah, because it's so bad. My family is good family.
A total of 5 boys aged between 15 and 16 have now been charged over Vilene's death as well as her stolen car. We applied to be present in all of those court cases to bring our viewers the truth, but in all bar one of them, we were denied entry. Carl.
Andrea, thank you.
Yes, so the mother of this accused murderer says that I didn't know kids do that. Well, were you watching? Well, I don't want to. Obviously, the question is put out. Were you watching your son? Your son is accused of this, and she says they're a good family. I'm sure that not all of her children are involved in gang activity. The thing is about these Sudanese families, they tend to breed like rabbits, and a lot of them do. There's at least in a lot of them, there's some who join these youth gangs, and Sudanese, those who are born in Sudan, are overrepresented in terms of the population in the offender statistics. I'll bring it up here. So this is from Victoria's crime statistics in 2017-18, but certainly no reason to believe that they have changed. So unique offenders by country of birth, April 2017 to March 2018, Sudan plus South Sudan. The Sudanese that we have here in Australia, pretty much all of them are from South Sudan, which is the Christian country that split off from the Muslim majority Sudan after the Sudanese civil war. Though then South Sudan, after they were a country in 2011, they had their own civil war. All the tribes are fighting each other. So as you can see there, the unique, they're over 100 per offenders per 1,000 people. So Sudan, South Sudan, it's at 100 there. And also serious assaults, alleged offender incidents from the same period. So Sudan is up there at 30 per 1,000 people. But look at that unique offences there, offences per 1,000 people. Sudan, South Sudan, over 100 there. And if you have a look, go to the prison. They were the 6th largest group of offenders in Victoria. So they're only 1.7%. Well, they're 0.16% of our population. And those who are, and remember, these are people who are born in Sudan, not Sudanese who were of Sudanese ethnicity who were born here in Australia, because you can't select those statistics because that would be racist. So 1%, they're 1.7% of the total offenders, only 0.16 of the population there. Now, because obviously those born in Australia, they make up 71% of total offenders, but 61% of the population. You can't get a racial breakdown of that because that would be racist. New Zealanders, so they're 2.18% of the make up offenders in Victoria, but only 1.68% of the population. I wonder which demographic of New Zealanders that are offending in Victoria. I won't say my guess, but certainly there will be a lot of people who will speculate. Now there is some updated data. Have I got it here? No, sorry, I haven't got it here. And now, Valine White's daughter, it seems that she only half gets it. Remember, Steven Miles said that nobody could have prevented this murder. Well, the alleged murderer was out on bail, if there was people who are charged with serious aggravated offences, the presumption was against bail, regardless of age. I mean, the Queensland Parliament under Palaszczuk passed youth crime reforms so that there'd be the presumption. Well, breach of bail was an offence and tightened up. But Steven Miles saying, well, there is a way to make sure that this murder could have been prevented, him not being on the street, and also those Sudanese youth, their parents not allowed to migrate to Australia, but Valine White's daughter only half gets it. This is a compilation of her appearances in the mainstream media.
Step up or step out.
Steven Miles visited their family's home to offer his condolences after the 70-year-old grandmother was allegedly murdered by a 16-year-old boy.
Walked through my front door and, you know, and then walked out and did a conference and laughed it off. And you know what? I was really glad he said it, because I'm like, you're not the man for the job. If you can't reassure people in the community that this is at the utmost priority.
The Premier's office says he was unaware when making the comment that Vilene's accused killer was at the time already on bail for 3 alleged armed robberies.
Of course, any crime is concerning, any tragedy is concerning, and we will do all we can to address it and work with the police service as well.
But the number of youths committing crimes has skyrocketed since 2015, with police data showing stolen car offences have more than tripled from almost 2,000 to more than 7,000. Robberies also tripling from around 400 to 1,400, while break-ins have more than doubled.
We all need to feel safe.
Calling for tougher youth justice laws, but also for calm, following reports that since 5 youths were arrested over the death, the wider African community's been targeted.
A lot of verbal abuse. Many people have got bottle thrown at them.
You don't judge the whole community by a couple of bad apples.
The sign says it all. 2 strangers brought together by tragedy.
Mum always said if I died, no one would care. And sorry, Mum, you sort of got a bit of a spotlight now. And you know what? If this is for one reason only, it's to pursue peace.
United in their calls for harmony.
The best way we can honour her legacy is for us to preach peace, unity, justice and accountability.
Vilene White's daughter stood side by side with an African community leader to condemn those targeting innocent people in the wake of her mother's death, allegedly at the hands of a teenage boy.
You're always going to have rogue kids. Doesn't matter what colour, they're always going to be troublemakers somewhere.
Reports of vigilante attacks and racial abuse have increased in the days after the 70-year-old was allegedly stabbed at Redbank Plains.
Hate has no place here. Racism has no place here. Individuals make choices.
Mrs White's family say they want to see stronger government action to tackle youth crime. The pair is urging the community to channel any anger and grief into advocating for impactful and positive change.
This is a horrible situation. It's affected everybody involved. And please don't think my heart hasn't broken.
So there we go again. Offenders come in all colours. I just showed you the statistics there of just the overrepresentation of offenders who were born in Sudan and South Sudan. And obviously, we would love to deport every offender who commits a crime in Australia. I mean, that's what the British did over almost 250 years ago. Sent them over here to Australia. But the thing is, why would we want to import more people from a country who is overrepresented in the crime statistics? I know that I said last week that the domestic violence, anti-domestic violence activists. They counted Vilene White as a woman killed in 2024, which it again shows you how they're manipulating the numbers, because Vilene White was murdered, or allegedly murdered, by a stranger who wanted to carjack and for a joyride for 20 minutes. And this is always when there's we've heard this before, that when there's an attack by a particular non-white ethnic group. Remember when Islamic terrorist incidents happen, it's like we're worried about the backlash against peaceful Muslims. Again, that we should think of the innocent Africans who will be a backlash there. I don't know if any of what he said there, that I can't remember his name, that African community activist is true. But I know when I'm out and about, if I see a single Sudanese youth, and there's enough Sudanese in Australia now, that we know that they have a different appearance than Africans from, say, the West, Nigeria, Tanzania, or Uganda. They look quite different. And so if I saw one Sudanese youth walking on their own, I wouldn't feel threatened, because they commit these crimes when they're in gangs. If I saw 5 Sudanese youths walking in a particular way, like they're in a gang, then I would feel threatened there. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who works on that assumption. Like it's becoming more and more of a more common to see Africans walking around in your suburbs. And like I said, if you see a random African on the street, you're not going to fear them unless they're walking together like they're in a gang. I mean, they have a certain walk and also dress a certain way. Now, back before the show started, Brucey Kibbett said, please play Jim Roberts' epic counter-protest clip. Well, it goes for 7 minutes, and plus it's expletive and slur ridden. In case you haven't seen it, you can see the clip on Jim Roberts' latest channel. He's a local national socialist in Melbourne. What's his current channel called? Because he seems to have various different channels. It's called Jimbo Rahawa Edition. So he went up to a group of grandmothers for refugees who were holding some signs in a public place. I don't know why they were there, and gave them a spray, because, well, they're the same age as Vilene White, and yet they're wanting more people, advocating for more people in from countries who are overrepresented in the crime statistics, who it's going to make women like them more vulnerable. Now, I can't condone the language and the slurs that Jim Roberts engaged in, and I don't know why he randomly decided to accuse one of the grandmothers for refugees of being Jewish. I don't know why he made that accusation. But as he also said to, I think one of them, I hope they stab you next. I hope that you die of a heart attack tonight. And certainly the grandmothers for refugees, they certainly deserve a spray, because they're endangering themselves with their advocacy, and also endangering their daughters, their grandchildren. And again, this is just, typical boomer women with too much time on their hands, whether it's climate policy, always advocating for policies that will be destructive for the next generation. Michael Nelson didn't even play Jim Roberts's rant there because he knows he doesn't want his channel to get taken down as well. And of course, Mikkel filmed himself calling two random transgenders pedophiles, and one of them wanted to go up and whack him, but was restrained by the other. And Mikkel on his stream tonight, he also had a quite a gross encounter in the Flinders Street toilet urinal while he was peeing, and an Asian man next to him in the urinal was stroking himself. And so Mikkel chased him out and asked him why he was stroking himself in a public toilet at the urinal. I posted to Mikkel in the comments, don't pee in front of other men, and don't use public urinals. I mean, I've said so before. I'm totally uncomfortable with whipping it out in front of other men at a public urinal. I use the cubicles because, you know, who knows who's around you there. So what is a Jungle John said, I'll check back in a few months to see if the conversation has proved this is pity basic shit with very little analysis. Good night, all. Oh, I'm sorry to see you go, Jungle Din. What are you off to watch if you haven't left yet? What's better than me? So I can get some good feedback there. Now, we had last week there was a Jewish WhatsApp group. So they were discussing the rise of anti-Semitism after the October 7th Hamas attack in southern Israel. And did you also see there's that car in New South Wales that had October 7th number plates, which have been recalled by Service New South Wales. And so it was a dox of around 600, and Clementine Ford, the original Frightbat feminist, was involved. So published the names and details of them to I guess shame and identify Zionists in Australia, who the far left and also the far right believe are supporting genocide in Gaza, because Netanyahu, he's now bombing the town of Rafah in the south. So the Palestinians in Gaza, they keep having to move all around the Gaza Strip, depending on where the bombs are dropping there. Netanyahu, he's telling the Israelis that, you know, we're going to, you know, you've got to keep the faith. We'll dismantle Hamas. He's having backlash in his own country because, well, he rescued 2 hostages today. Well, the IDF did, because there's domestic pressure to get back the hostages. There's IDF soldiers who are dying. There were 21 who died in a building collapse. And now, even though doxing has been around for you'd say since the beginning of social media, and many patriots, nationalists, conservatives have been doxed by far left groups and Antifa. Doxing is not illegal, but it's designed to intimidate, inflict a personal and professional damage. But because it's happened to these members of Australia's Jewish community, the Albanese government is going to bring forward federal laws that criminalize doxing. So this is reported by David Crowe, the Age and the Sydney Morning Herald political editor. So the government plans to put urgent privacy laws to Parliament while also developing stronger laws against hate speech. We need more laws against hate speech after months of dispute over the war in the Middle East. The new federal law will make it a criminal offence to engage in doxing and similar harassment, while making broader changes in response to long-running review of the Privacy Act overseen by the Attorney General, Mark Dreyfus. The changes will include exemptions for public interest journalists, such as reporting on public figures. So he announced this in an interview with 2GB with Chris O'Keefe. So he singled out the treatment of the 600 Jewish people, including singer Deborah Conway, as a major concern because the individual had joined a WhatsApp group that was not heavily political and sought to provide support to each other because of the rise of anti-Semitism. And the Executive Council of Australian Jury President, Daniel Agon, welcomed the move and said the stronger laws will need to deal with doxing. While existing laws outlaw the use of social media platforms to menace and threaten others, the doxers themselves, who orchestrated a campaign of intimidation and violent threats and horrific abuse, cannot be allowed to get away with it. We have called for an end to impunity, and we are grateful that the government has listened. And so the federal plans leap ahead of state moves on hate speech after the controversy of the pro-Palestinian gathering at the Opera House on October 9. Federal government was already committed to an overhaul of Privacy Act, known as Privacy Tort. On hate speech, Dreyfus has already promised new measures to protect people from hate speech vilification on their faith in a religious discrimination law later this year, which was the idea of Scott Morrison. It failed to be legislated in his last term, but that would operate as a blasphemy law, and we'd turn into the UK with just the police busting down people's door for fair comment on social media. Dreyfus told the Smart said he would introduce laws against doxing as soon as possible. The recent targeting of members of the Australian Jewish community through doxing was shocking, but is sadly from an isolated event. No Australian should be targeted because of their race or religion. Though the Guardian reported back at the end of January that there was a pro-Israel surveillance group who are offering bounties for information on pro-Palestinian protesters and claim to have secured meetings with key federal politicians. The Chiron Collective, which is largely focused on the US and UK, boasts of ability to scrape digital fingerprints to aggressively track and expose anti-Semites. It is one of a number of groups that claim to have gained prominence on social media during the Israel-Gaza war, publicly naming individuals it accuses of being anti-Semitic. Chiron Collective claims it has an AI tool called Maccabi, which can identify and track targets. In one post on X, Sharon outlines a scenario in which a tool creates and releases deepfake videos, falsified content that looks and sounds genuine to embarrass individuals who take down posters picturing Israeli hostages. On its X account, the Sharon Collective has claimed to offer bounties of US $500 for information on people in videos. In a December post, it would claim it would pay up to $15,000 for crucial insights about politicians, US $7,500 for medical doctors, and $250 for students. Leaked screenshots of the Sherian Telegram channel shared with the Guardian Australia by the White Rose Society, an Australian anti-fascist research group, show Sherian have become active in Australia, with participants identifying potential targets and boastings of an attempt to meet Home Affairs Minister Claire O'Neill and the Shadow Home Affairs Minister James Patterson. Anonymised Sharon members discussed presenting O'Neill and Patterson with a list of names to ensure they were brought to justice according to the rule of law. Need help? We managed to get into Home Affairs calendar. Need to come prepared with people and hate speech and names the government didn't hold accountable, one anonymous user said. So yes, there is people on the pro-Israel Zionist side who are attempting to dox pro-Palestinian activists. Will they also be held to account under these new privacy laws? And now there obviously there is it was mentioned in the previous article. There's the Australian Council, the Australian Council of Jury. There is the Australian Jewish Association. There, of course, is Devere Abramovich's Anti-Defamation League. Now there is a new one, which is the Jewish Council of Australia, which was launched last week. And it's basically full of left-wing Jews who believe it's not anti-Semitic to question Zionism and the actions of Israel. So coming at it from obviously a different viewpoint, because Jewish people are not one homogenous blob who have the same view on everything. That's why obviously the Australian Jewish Association, which is headed by David Adler, was set up to counter all of the Jewish lobby groups who support multiculturalism and mass migration. And Australian Jewish Association rightly recognises that is a threat to Jewish people in Australia. And that brings me segues to next topic. This is the Greens New South Wales member for Newtown, Jenny Leong, talking about all the Jewish people who are in all of these multicultural groups.
The Jewish lobby and the Zionist lobby are infiltrating into every single aspect of what is ethnic community groups. They rock up and they're part of the campaign. They offer support for things like the campaign against the 18C racial vilification laws. They offer solidarity. They rock up to every community event and meeting to offer that connection, because their tentacles reach in to the areas that try and influence power. And I think that we need to call that out and expose it.
And now, the significance of Jenny Leong talking about Jewish tentacles is that that's a historical anti-Semitic trope, that Jews are octopuses. This is a Nazi cartoon by Sebler in 1938. Because that doesn't show any Nazi symbols, I think that's okay to show for historical, for historical context. And they're always creative, these Jewish protesters in Sydney. So they dressed up as octopuses outside Jenny Leong's Newtown office last year, when a federal New South Wales Greens Senator Maureen Faruqi posed with a schoolgirl who had a person throwing the Israeli flag into a rubbish bin. They turned up to her office dressed as rubbish bins there. So they at least make this get creative. To obviously a visual protest certainly gets the point, and also makes the media pay more attention than if you just turn up with signs. And Jenny Leong, she was also condemned by Prime Minister Anthony Albanese.
I condemn totally any form of anti-Semitism, including the comments by my local member, the member for Newtown, whose comments about tentacles with regard to the Jewish community, I find offensive. I find it had its origins in anti-Semitism, and I condemn it unequivocally.
And Jenny Leong, she put out a statement apologising, which I'll just put this up on the screen and read this out now. So, many people know I'm an outspoken advocate for justice, human rights, and for equality and for anti-racism. I know that words I say hold power and have an impact and come with responsibility. Last year, when speaking at an event in Bankstown, I used an inappropriate word and framed an argument in an inappropriate way that has caused offence, had anticipating implications, and has been hurtful to people. For that, I apologise wholeheartedly and unreservedly. I also apologise wholeheartedly and unreservedly for the imputation in my comments that suggested Jewish people involving themselves in civil society and campaigns against hate do so with ulterior motives. This was wrong and understandably caused offence. I recognise the long history of Jewish people involved in progressive campaigns and movements here and globally. My intention was to criticize those that support and back in a Zionist agenda and pro-genocide, pro-apartheid stance. After reflection, listening to those with concerns, I understand why my framing of this critique caused offense. I absolutely did not intend to cause harm with my words, but I know that when it comes to racism and discrimination, it's not about intention, but it's about the impact actions and words have. To those who my words and framing of my comments at that forum last year were hurtful, I'm truly sorry. I remain and will continue to be a strong critic of Israel and advocate for Palestinian rights, but I'm committed to ensuring my language in the future does not have anti-Semitic implications. As a committed human rights and anti-racism advocate who has been outspoken about the rising threat of far-right extremism, I take accountability for my words and promise to do better. I also promise to continue speaking out about the ongoing genocidal attacks and apartheid occurring in Gaza. So there we go. Now, our federal parliament is back for its second sitting week. So Anthony Albanese last week passed his changes to the stage 3 tax cuts, which to summarize, I don't want to bore you with numbers. So low and middle income earners get a tax cut from July 1 that they weren't expecting, and upper, middle, higher income earners, they will see their they'll still get a tax cut, but it will be lower than what was legislated under the stage 3 tax cuts, which the Morrison government passed, which Anthony Albanese in opposition supported and said, we have no plans to change the stage 3 tax cuts. Well, until we announced that we had changed them a couple of weeks ago. And of course, because Anthony Albanese he's been sneaky, tricky, used these weasel words. He is now being asked, have you got any plans to change negative gearing, the capital gains tax concessions, the franking credit arrangements? And nobody believes him or Jim Chalmers when they say we're not considering, not contemplating. Well, they're not contemplating it, considering until they are considering contemplating. Unless you say, we are not going to be doing this full stop. Remember, Bill Shorten took the 2019 election, promising to roll back all of these things, and he lost that unlosable election to Scott Morrison. And Bill Shorten was on the Today Show saying that, let's not go back there because I made Scott Morrison Prime Minister for another 3 years. Now, of course, everyone is still poorer under the Albanese government because Albanese and Jim Chalmers took away the low middle income earners tax offset of $1,500. They're not going to get that much in tax cuts. So everybody has lost. Also, your electricity is not $275 cheaper. Your electricity bill keeps going up. So has the petrol going in your car. So has beer and spirits with the indexation. And well, if you're considering buying a new car anytime in the next 5 years, well, if you're a tradie who needs a new ute, you could be paying a whole lot more under Energy Minister Chris Bowen, Blackout Bowen's new emission standards. So how this, he's mandating a 60% reduction in car emissions over the next 5 years on car manufacturers' fleets, which are all imported. We don't have a car industry now. And so car manufacturers, they're able to offset their high petrol guzzlers, the utes and the SUVs, against the new hybrids and EVs they're bringing out. But do you really believe Chris Bowen when he says that that won't raise the price of cars? I mean, he didn't make your electricity bills cheaper. So we've got that. All of these cost of living getting worse under the Albanese government, and is taken more of your income. And as bracket creep increases, because Albanese and Chalmers are keeping the 37 cents in the dollar tax bracket, so they'll collect more money from bracket creep. So you get pay rises when there's inflation, but through bracket creep, the government's able to sneakily take more there. So you're all losing. There was the reckless renewables rally in Canberra last Tuesday. So that's against the Chris Bowen's $20 billion transmission line rollout. The Nationals leader, David Littleproud, has called for a moratorium on renewables projects in the bush, like the mass solar farms, because both the solar farms and the transmission lines are taking up agricultural land. Though by the end of the week, David Littleproud was having to talk about his predecessors Wednesday night on the pavement in Braddon in the ACT. So I'm not sure if you all saw this footage. This will probably, Daily Mail will probably play ads here. I won't be able to play it. Probably, nah, fuck it. But yeah, it's hardly inaudible there. So this was broken by the Daily Mail. So Barnaby Joyce, when the Daily Mail contacted him about this footage, so he was on the phone to his wife, Vicky Campion, calling himself a dead fucking cunt during the phone call. She said, I think he was calling himself one he likes to self-flagellate. So he said he'd fallen off that plant there and rolled around there. Though Vicky Campion, obviously, she was his media advisor before he had an affair with her, and now is his wife. If you watched the part 2 of the Nemesis ABC documentary series about the coalition government over the past 9 years, the second episode talked about Barnaby Joyce's affair with Vicky Campion, the breakdown of his marriage with his first wife, Natalie, and Malcolm Turnbull introducing the bonk ban and saying Barnaby had made a shocking error of judgment and appalled us all. They made Barnaby Joyce, the ABC, rewatch it and said, and called a Malcolm Turnbull a shithead. So it's quite the week to for Barnaby to remind everyone how his conduct can make the papers. Though Vicky Campion made the point, why didn't the bystander try and help him instead of filming it and selling it to the Daily Mail? Now, Barnaby Joyce said this is highly embarrassing and said that he mixed blood medication with alcohol, which also makes him really foolish as well. This is certainly not, I would say, a sackable offence. I mean, having the affair with Vicky Campion was way worse, particularly since he was supposed to be the Catholic family values politician. Well, where was the joke? He was so pro family values that he started another family, multiple family values. So yes, highly embarrassing. He's a fool for mixing medication with alcohol. I'm sure he won't do that again because, well, look what's happened. And Lydia Thorpe, of course, popped up ahead saying it's a double standard since the Prime Minister said I needed mental help after I abused those people outside that nightclub. Well, Barnaby Joyce wasn't abusing anyone. He was only abusing himself on the phone there and wasn't saying that anyone had a small penis or called anyone a white little cunt or whatever abuse Lydia Thorpe dished out that night. It's not the only time she's certainly dished out abuse. So yes, that was the Canberra bubble circus last week. And we also had the Labor Party pass a new industrial relations law, the right to disconnect, which you don't have to answer your boss's calls or emails after work. But the Greens snuck in a provision that bosses can go to jail for doing that, and Labor's wanting to amend it after they passed it, so they can't even manage their own legislation. All right, so that's some would say, dry political stuff. Let's go over to the UK now, where the Met Police still haven't found the scumbag acid thrower, Abdul Ezedi. So he was the Afghan illegal immigrant. Came to the UK on a lorry in 2016, had two failed asylum, Abdul Ezedi, I should say, two failed asylum applications, and then he committed a sex offence. He tried to pull a woman's pants down and exposed himself to her, and then he was granted asylum after he claimed he had converted to Christianity. And then last week, he doused his ex-partner and her two daughters with acid. The woman is still in a critical condition. Now, despite the London being full of CCTV cameras, he simply vanished. And the Met Police, they put out a £20,000 reward for information leading to his arrest, because they believed that he may be harbored by, well, members of his ex-religious community, Islamic, because he claims he's a Christian now. So the police, they executed two raids in Newcastle as part of their search for him, but they have now concluded, the Met Police, that Abdul Ezedi drowned in the Thames River, and so the police marine units are searching for him. I don't know if he's disintegrated because he had the acid washed back on him and his face was half melting. Maybe he's just, I don't know, disintegrated into the footpath or into the river. The police marine units, they found two bodies unrelated to Abdul Ezedi there. So they've just found two bodies there that have been there for a while, and they didn't know nothing about it. Now, we do have another statement from the Met Police. This is by Andrew Lawrence. So this is the Met Police update about their search.
Hello, I'm Sergeant Constable Detective Officer Peter Pisspot from Twat Valley Police. As you will all know by now, earlier this week, a Christian man from Newcastle, a Geordie chap, carried out a largely peaceful chemical activity in Clapham. Many of you will be waiting on an update on whether or not we've managed to track down this former asylum seeker, now resident in the UK, who has brought us much needed cultural enrichment and shown us all that diversity is very much our strength. I'd like to take this opportunity to reassure you all that myself and my fellow officers are pursuing every avenue to try and contact this much misunderstood and demonised individual. Obviously, there are a lot of racists out there, and it's our job as police officers to protect this poor oppressed Christian man from Newcastle from the far right, who are an increasing danger to us all. This gentleman is currently struggling with a severe eye injury, which we would like to get treated on the NHS as soon as possible. As a former asylum seeker, of course, he is entitled to priority treatment. We're out there searching for him in our rainbow-painted patrol vehicles. We're leaving no stone unturned. We're taking every possible precaution not to misgender anybody in the course of our investigations, and we're exercising a zero-tolerance policy towards any microaggressions we encounter along the way. If you do come across this individual, please do approach with caution and direct him to Gary Lineker's house, where there is a nice hot meal and a bubble bath waiting for him. Please do be vigilant online and help us out by scouring social media for evidence of anybody directing hate speech towards the gentleman in question, Abdul Ezedi, as he is of course the victim in all this. And please do spare a thought for woke middle-class white women at this difficult time, because as with everything else in life, this incident is of course all about them. And we all owe it to ourselves to listen to them talk about their struggles incessantly. Take care out there, be vigilant, Hakuna Matata, Namaste, Kumbaya.
It's a very good satire there by Andrew Lawrence. I wonder if we'll also hear from several of the lesbian Nana Met Police officers as well, because there's a whole bunch of ineffective Met Police officers. And also, well, it's not just the UK that are getting culturally enriched with illegal migrants. So is Ireland. There was footage of a naked African man wandering around a small town Irish supermarket, which I'm not going to show because YouTube doesn't allow showing nudity, and you probably don't need to see that there. I thought that only happened in Breaking Bad when Walter White walks naked in Walmart to try and cover up that he's been away dealing drugs for several days. But there's been mass protests in Ireland against the mass invasion. There's also been migrant accommodation that has been arsoned, attacked, which of course I could never condone. But you sort of wondered, you know, the Irish, they had a history of setting fire, bomb making when they were fighting for independence from the British, trying to make a united Ireland. So you sort of expected them to fight in that manner eventually. In Northern Ireland, Sinn Féin is now Michelle O'Neill is now the first Sinn Féin first minister, first Republican. They want to unify Ireland by 2030. Though Sinn Féin is still EU globalist political party, so they want the British out of Ireland so they can invite the Europeans and the whole rest of the world into the island of Ireland. Makes total sense there. And Ireland is having an upcoming referendum to delete from their constitution the protection for the role of women in the home, and also the protection for families as well. So deleting women and protection for women and families in their in their constitution. It just keeps getting better in Ireland there. I think Lady of Shalott must be busy now on Monday nights that she is unable to catch the show live. But if you're unable to catch the show live, please leave a comment below just to give some feedback, because it's always good to have a comment feedback as well, and also it helps with the YouTube algorithm if you hit the thumbs up as well. If you can't catch the show live, shout out to Granny Annie, who hadn't seen for a while but commented last week. So it's good to see that she is still watching. And now is back on the British island. all of this, there was the Met Police, they had to storm a bus because there was a man threatening to douse people on the bus with corrosive acid. Thankfully, no one was harmed, but more acid in London. Remember, this is all happening all throughout the UK under a 14-year-old Conservative government. But, you know, you still have to remember Sir Keir Starmer would be 10 times worse than already worse things are than they were 14 years ago when the Conservatives first took power. You need to, and you definitely shouldn't vote for reform over the Conservatives. You need to re-elect good Conservatives like Caroline Noakes, who praised immigrants working in the NHS. So if you get acid thrown in your face by a migrant, you can get treated by a migrant in the NHS.
Well, I think on the immigration point, it's worth reflecting that you are much more likely in the NHS to be treated by an immigrant than you are to be behind one in the queue for treatment. And
that's not a popular point of view in your party.
Not a popular point of view, but it's fact.
Yeah.
And we owe a great deal to those immigrants who come here and work in our NHS.
I swear, like Caroline Noakes, she's like an NPC, non-playable Conservative. She says the most inane left-wing thing. She says it in this robotic manner. It's like she's just computed to say these ridiculous things. But you need to vote for her. The Conservatives are going to save you. And like Rishi Sunak, Roland Rat, in his desperation, like at the moment, like it's about the Conservatives trying to save the furniture. Or trying to outpoll reform. So Conservatives are at 20% reform, which is successor to the Brexit Party is at 13%. Though a reform, they could pick a better leader than Richard Tice, who buggers off to Ukraine for a self-indulgent trip when he should be campaigning across the country. So Rishi Sunak last week, when Brianna Gay, the transgender teenager who was stabbed 28 times by two teens who have now been sentenced to life imprisonment, Scarlett Jenkinson and Eddie Ratcliffe. In the House of Commons last week, Rishi Sunak said that Sir Keir Starmer has backflipped on everything, including definition of a woman. And Rishi Sunak, Sir Keir Starmer said, Rishi Sunak said that while Brianna Gay's parents were in the house, that's insensitive. And Rishi Sunak refused to apologise, obviously wanting to show throw red meat to the TERFs and gender criticals who are eating their own at the moment. They went after Andrew Doyle last week, got him off Twitter for interviewing a sane trans person. So, but yeah, Rishi Sunak, at the moment, he's just trying to throw red meat to the base to just try and keep reform off. And so this was his latest announcement, giving police extra powers to stop hate and violence at pro-Palestinian rallies.
Since the October 7th attacks in Israel, we've seen protests across our country almost every weekend. Many of these have been respectful, but there have also been far too many appalling examples of anti-Semitism, violent intimidation, and the glorification of terrorism. This must not stand. I've asked the police what powers they need to bring order to our streets. As a result, today, we are setting out measures that will ban fireworks and flares that intimidate communities and have put our police officers in hospital. Stop people from being able to climb on our sacred war memorials, and stop people from covering their faces to conceal their identity and evade arrest. Those who abuse their freedom to protest undermine public safety and our democratic values, and I will give police the powers they need to crack down on this intimidating and appalling behaviour.
So see, now face covering masks are bad. So the police can arrest you for wearing a face mask, face covering in public now. And that's what Thomas Sewell and the National Socialist Network found out in Australia Day in Sydney. So, yes, back in 2020, 2021, the police would arrest you for not covering your face. And now we're back to the police arresting you for covering your face. So it's hard to keep up with the science, or, well, it was always political science there. I saw Linda Hunter say, "Oh my God, did you see that rugby tackle by a giant gay man who pretends to be a woman?" Is that when Australia played Papua New Guinea? Because that was actually a woman. I know Kelly J. Keane reshared that footage, and that's a 35-year-old biological woman from Papua New Guinea. And again, this is the TERFs and gender criticals spreading out misinformation, actually attacking biological women. So yeah, that was a 35-year-old woman, so who obviously was very masculine, and that. So yeah, I said last week, it's hard to keep up with the TERF gender critical logic. Yes, this is the yes, Papuans always seem to be huge. Well, the women are as well, and African women are as well, because remember, the AI facial recognition sometimes mistakes famous black women like Michelle Obama for men. So yes, this is like the TERFs and gender criticals. They've got to do their due diligence, because there's a lot of butch women who look like men who play women's sports, unless you want to save women's sports from women. I can't keep up, but I digress here. And now let's go to some good news from Britain. Piers Morgan has been fired from Talk TV. Oh, no, he didn't say he'd been fired. He said that he's moving his Piers Morgan Uncensored to YouTube because he's got so many million subscribers. Well, News Corp, his soon-to-be ex-employer, paid for all of that. There's a reason why in your YouTube algorithm, Sky News Australia, Fox News, and Talk TV always get bumped up, because News Corp pays YouTube. Now, the reason for Piers Morgan being fired is because the Mirror group, which he was the editor from 1995 to 2004, until he was fired for publishing forged photos of British soldiers abusing Iraqi prisoners. Prince Harry sued the Mirror over phone hacking. After a favourable judgment for Prince Harry in December, the Mirror Group settled all the suits that Prince Harry had brought against the Mirror Group, and this was Prince Harry's lawyer. Have I got the footage here? I hope I've got the footage. No, I don't have the footage. Anyway, before I play that, this is Piers Morgan, who claims he's never hacked a phone, showing how phones can be hacked back in 2003.
That came out because of mobile phones. When they first came out, mobile phones, journalists found out that if the celebrity hadn't changed their PIN code,
yeah, you can access their voicemail.
You can access their voicemail just by tapping a number. Now, are you really telling me that journalists aren't going to do that?
Yeah.
If they know they can ring up Charlotte Church's mobile phone, listen to all her messages, right? Now, all you have to do, and I know it's hard because celebrities don't like doing anything for themselves, is actually change your security number.
Yeah, I've changed my security number.
And now you don't have to worry.
Exactly.
Yeah, Piers Morgan says he's never hacked a phone or asked anyone to hack a phone, but sure, he sure knows a lot about it, Piers Morgan. So it's just uploading now. Prince Harry is a lawyer. Linda Hunter says Piers Morgan helped run all the English out of town, where that school bully made his fame and fortune. Piers Morgan should interview Kim Jong-un. Well, maybe Tucker Carlson will beat him to it. We'll get to Tucker Carlson's big Putin interview in a moment. Here is Prince Harry's lawyer after the settlement.
Following Mirror Group's acceptance of the remainder of his claim and their agreement to pay substantial additional damages to him as well as his costs. I'll now read that statement on his behalf. After our victory in December, Mirror Group have finally conceded the rest of my claim, which would have consisted of another 2 trials, additional evidence, and 115 more articles. Everything we said was happening at Mirror Group was in fact happening, and indeed far worse, as the court ruled in his extremely damaging judgment. As the judge has said only this morning, we have uncovered and proved the shockingly dishonest way in which the Mirror acted for so many years and then sought to conceal the truth. In light of this, we call again for the authorities to uphold the rule of law and to prove that no one is above it. That includes Mr. Morgan, who as editor knew perfectly well what was going on as the judge held. Even his own employer realised it simply could not call him as a witness of truth at the trial. His contempt for the court's ruling and his continued attacks ever since demonstrate why it was so important to obtain a clear and detailed judgment. As I said back in December, our mission continues. I believe in the positive change it will bring for all of us. It's the very reason why I started this and why I will continue to see it through to the end. Thank you very much.
And now, Piers Morgan, despite him, as I mentioned, News Corp paying for all of that reach on YouTube, him getting all the big names such as Trump, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, the British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. He had a £1,000 bet with Rishi Sunak that for charity that planes would take off with illegals to Rwanda by the end of the year. Rishi should just write the £1,000 check for charity now. It's not going to happen because he is as weak as piss and is not determined to make it happen. But I digress there. Now, all of that couldn't save Piers Morgan from the axe because nobody watches Talk TV, and nobody actually watched his show. They're incredibly low ratings, which is why he bragged about the YouTube views. And all the presenters on Talk TV have the standard same conservative viewpoints. Julia Hartley-Brewer, Kevin Sullivan, Mike Graham, and James Whale, who's the size of a whale. He's probably the worst there. They all have the same opinion. They're the ones who, do think for themselves. I cast out pretty quickly. Obviously, Mark Stein at GB News, Lawrence Fox and Calvert Robertson, the only two who speak their mind left at GB News. Bev Turner and Neil Oliver. They sort of wonder whether their time is coming soon. But Piers Morgan, again, this couldn't have happened to a nicer bloke, and especially loved Katie Hopkins, who, nobody has been cancelled by all the mainstream media more than her on her Friday night Katie Arms, drinking some of Piers' tears.
Piers, you're having a bit of a shit day now, aren't you? So last week, Piers, you called me despicable. And this week, Piers, you don't even have a fucking job, love. Can someone signpost Piers Morgan the way to the benefit office? Because he's going to be a YouTuber now. A YouTuber. Used to be on CNN. Used to have his own show on ITV. Used to be the big knob. Used to fucking blow all of my bosses so that he could get his pieces put above mine. And now he's going to be a YouTuber. Hold on, I'm just going to drink some of his tears. Piers Morgan's tears. I mean, they're this colour because his face is rotting, as you can tell, because he's got 15 chins. Hold on. Piers Morgan's tears. Delicious. Yum. Oh, Piers, let me lick the rim. As my former colleague, Piers, I just want to say I'm so sorry for what's happening to you. I'm so sorry you're being humiliated on the national stage. And I'm so sorry there's probably going to be a police investigation into you. Hold on, I've just got to find some sympathy. Oh, I'm just going to look for some fucks to give, Piers. 1 second. No. Hold on. No, just check my... Oh, no. I can't... Hold on, Piers. I can't find any fucks to give. Let me just check under my... No. No, in my crotch. No, in my... Oh, no, Piers. I've got no fucks to give. I love it. So he got fired. I love. He's now a vlogger.
So he's just like the rest of us, streaming to YouTube now. But yeah, we didn't. Obviously, his videos, they got bumped up through the algorithm thanks to his former employer Rupert Murdoch. I mean, not all of us have sugar daddies worth billions of dollars who has a multi-global conglomerate who can make it so that your YouTube channel gets 1 million subscribers just instantly like that. Does Piers Morgan still rant about gun control? Not as much these days, because that got fired. Him fired from CNN. So fired from the Mirror, fired from CNN, fired from ITV, now fired from Talk TV. Although, of course, he's still putting on a brave face. Now, would Piers Morgan, would he go and interview, somebody mentioned Kim Jong-un, would he actually interview like serious, like, you know, really big global controversial figures like Tucker Carlson did with his 2-hour interview with Russian President Vladimir Putin in the Kremlin? It was published first on his Tucker Carlson network website, then it was published to X because Elon Musk promised not to censor it, and as a result YouTube didn't censor it, or other platforms did. Now I've watched it in its entirety. Have you watched it here in the comments? Please let me know. Now the first half hour is Putin talking about the historical connection between Russia and Ukraine, because that's what most of the interview was about. Tucker asking, why did you invade Ukraine? Now, Tucker briefly mentioned the imprisoned Wall Street Journal journalist who is imprisoned in Russia, and that Tucker wants him released. Putin said, we're prepared to do a prisoner exchange. Though Tucker did not ask him about all of the Putin's enemies who fall out of hospital or hospital buildings, the opposition leader in Siberia, the poisoning attack in the UK many years ago. Didn't ask him about any of that, but as people pointed out, he was literally in Putin's house and Putin's all bodyguards all around. And now Tucker wanted to sort of roll the interview along, but Putin was like, are we having a discussion or it is a show? Basically saying, well, you promised that this would be a discussion, not just some segment in a show. Of course, the liberal media and the United States, they were filthy. They called Tucker a propagandist, apologist for Putin. Of course, they are allowed to interview Putin. So it's okay when Barbara Walters did it, rest in peace, or George Stephanopoulos does. I don't know who that guy is, but treason when Tucker does it because, well, lately only Christine Amanpour on CNN, who has the British accent, only she's allowed to interview people like Putin or Assad or some Palestinian leader. Only she's allowed to interview these people. Certainly, no cast aside, fired. Although Tucker Carlson wasn't fired from Fox for anything. I mean, he didn't hack a phone or a talk about a slander a Dominion voting systems. He didn't do any of that. Yet he was the one who got fired all of a sudden. So a lot of what Putin talked about. Now, Putin, I wouldn't want to live in Putin's Russia. He's certainly not certainly not a good guy, but he did talk about how even before his time as president, when Boris Yeltsin was the president, Russia always tried to extend an olive branch to the West after the Soviet Union collapsed, Cold War over, and the US Secretary of State was it James Baker and Bill Clinton floated NATO membership of Russia with him, but then the deep state struck it down. And so the West, with their expansion of NATO, their coup in Ukraine, the US-led EU, NATO, basically Western globalist elite, the globalist coup in Ukraine, getting rid of the pro-Russian president and putting in the pro-Western president. So Tucker tried to pin him on why now, and it was Putin said basically because they hadn't that the Minsk agreement wasn't being implemented in 2014. That was negotiated after Russia annexed Crimea. So what did Dawn Browning say? Let's say here. I agree. Putin is most definitely part of the cabal and not our side. That was Ron Nielsen. Dawn Browning said, Tucker's face over being declined by 3-letter org, though. Oh, yes. Putin decided to say, the CIA, it's a great organization that they didn't let you join, which is actually a good thing because, well, Tucker's father was also part of the deep state. Paleoconservative Australia saying he isn't on our side. Are you talking about Putin or Tucker? So again, it's not the West's fault that, well, you know, it's not like, this is the thing about when we talk about blowback, whether it be 9/11 or any other conflict, that certain policies certain foreign policies by the US deep state, the neocons, often a lot of the time to placate Israel, have unintended consequences which lead to further conflict, further bloodshed there. And so yes, it's certainly the person who invaded a country or committed a terrorist act is their fault, but certainly conditions were created where that if things had been different, if the deep state hadn't interfered, the globalists, then maybe the preconditions for those atrocities would not have happened. And Putin also mentioned that, remember when the Russian operation in Ukraine started, there was peace talks in, I think, Istanbul, like it could have been all over in 2022, though Putin said that Boris Johnson, who was the Prime Minister of the UK at the time, sabotaged the peace talks. And Boris Johnson was especially triggered by this and released another one of his out in the field vlogs, asking us to read his read his column in the Daily Mail, which we don't do.
Around the world, people are watching that ludicrous interview with Vladimir Putin conducted by Tucker Carlson, and we must not fall for this tissue of lies above all for the notion that Putin is somehow fated to succeed in Ukraine. On the contrary, he is doomed to fail. Read about it in the Daily Mail.
This Boris Johnson again channeling. They all want to be Churchill, that Putin is doomed, the bad guy is doomed. Or they were saying that Tucker interviewing Putin was like interviewing Hitler in 1940. Though, if the technology was around, I mean, wouldn't have been interesting to hear in 1940 why Hitler invaded Poland, why he's invading the Low Countries and France. Not that you have to agree, and this is the thing: nobody has to agree with what Putin has done, but hearing historical context, the history, I mean, I think we all are. Certainly, we have learnt a lot, and there are people, because of this interview, countering Putin's recounting of history, which is a good thing. I mean, people can't, like, they wouldn't have put out the counter to it unless Tucker had interviewed him. So it's good that we are having this discussion of history, and it's up to us about what are the facts, what is spin, and because there's a lot we don't know and that we need to learn. Now, Putin was able to hold his own for 2 hours with Tucker Carlson and showed that he is a smart, a savvy, intelligent person. And then a couple of hours later, after the interview aired, US President Joe Biden maybe held a snap press conference to distract from the Tucker interview, but it was after the special counsel report was released into his holding classified documents, which, I mean, he ordered his aides to destroy them and the biographer to delete the recordings, though the special prosecutor said that he would not lay charges against Biden because he's an elderly gentleman with a poor memory. And this enraged Biden, that he said, my memory's fine and I got this country on the right track. Many people thought that maybe he was going to be an LBJ and announce he wasn't seeking a second term, but they're going to have to blast him out, the Democrats, from the presidency. I mean, he's wanted to be president his whole life. And now he seemed to get through that angry rant pretty well. But when he came back to answer a question about Israel's operations in the Gaza Strip, then this happened. And have I got the footage here? No, I haven't. I've got all this footage, but there's so many footage that I have to upload that it's hard to remember all of that. I've also started back this week my weekly appearances on Reality Check Radio with Paul Brennan in New Zealand, his breakfast program, giving an Australian report. So the first one will air tomorrow. So I've done that this afternoon. So I do like a double shift on during the afternoon. So here we go here. And also, I mentioned we've got the theorist with Andy Nolch tomorrow night. We're going to be discussing whether the Super Bowl was rigged and other psyops. Is conspiracy theories on tomorrow night. Tim, Andy is a nutter. I agree. He is a nutter and he's unhinged. So he makes me angry. So we'll see if that happens. Anyway, here's Joe Biden's gaffe.
The conduct of the response in Gaza, in the Gaza Strip, has been over the top. I think that, as you know, initially the president of Mexico, Sisi, did not want to open up the gate to allow humanitarian material to get in. I talked to him. I convinced him to open the gate. I talked to Bibi to open the gate on the Israeli side.
So refers to El Sisi as the president of Mexico, getting the U.S. southern border confused with the Gaza Strip southern border in to Egypt. Now, there was another attempt at a bipartisan immigration bill, which would give more money to the border control. But again, the fine print is that it would fast track illegals' applications to stay in the United States, give sanctuary cities more money, and also tied in foreign aid to Ukraine. Now, the Republican Senate leader Mitch McConnell, this was supposed to be bipartisan with Democrat majority party leader Chuck Schumer, but now because there was a Republican revolt in the Senate and the House, then they all ran away. Mitch McConnell ran away with it and let the other senator, James Lankford from Oklahoma, take the fall for it. So this is what they always do, the Democrats and Republicans. They try to sneak through this comprehensive immigration reform, which allows all these illegals to stay in the country, which just entices more illegals to come over the border. And there was another illegal who over in Times Square, a 15-year-old migrant suspected of shooting a tourist and firing at a police officer in a robbery gone wrong in Times Square was arrested. So U.S. Marshals tracked Venezuelan teen Jesus Alejandro Fierez Figueroa. You're allowed to name minors who've been arrested and charged less than 24 hours after the Thursday mayhem. This is not Venezuela, dude. I mean, it's not a socialist shithole where you can just, take what you want, get a free ride. You actually have to, work for a living and actually contribute to the productivity. If you want something, you work for it. Though this teen, Jesus Alejandro, he cried like a little boy, a baby, when he was arrested.
Another one? I just put my report. Go ahead. You know me? You got a video.
His mother crying. He was a good boy. He didn't do nothing. That's how the mothers always go. I think the mother of a arrested rioter who, well, she gave her son an ass whooping. He was participating in the Baltimore BLM riots. He was arrested by the police, and she went over this black mother and whipped him there. That was epic. But there's too many of them who say he was a good boy who didn't do nothing. Fellow conservative Australian, isn't that what the Sudanese mother did recently? Well, she said she didn't realize that kids did that. Yes, that's No, that was last week. The migrants who beat the cop. This is something else. Assaulting police officers, that's pretty heinous enough, but firing at a police officer, that's a whole different level. So that teen, he fucked around and he found out. Now, with this migrant crisis in the US, the southern border open, and Biden's cognitive decline, it's so bad that even the mainstream media journalists are now saying, look, yeah, it's just too much now. Although Rachel Maddow, Mad Cow, defended him, saying he can ride a bike. Well, his physical health is still there. I mean, he fell over on the stage and didn't break a hip or anything. It's just his mind. Like, a president needs his mind. I mean, Franklin Roosevelt was in a wheelchair, but he still had his mind. The mind is most important when you're US president. Though they're attacking Donald Trump for his gaffes, confusing Nikki Haley with Nancy Pelosi. Donald Trump's still going to win the South Carolina primary. Nikki Haley lost the Nevada primary to none of the above. Though Trump won the Nevada caucus. I don't know how that worked. And now they're going back to taking Trump out of context. They're trying to claim that he said that Putin could invade any European country he wanted.
The presidents of a big country stood up and said, well, sir, if we don't pay and we're attacked by Russia, will you protect us? I said, you didn't pay? You're delinquent? He said, yes, let's say that happened. No, I would not protect you. In fact, I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want. You got to pay.
So what Trump was talking about is the art of deal negotiation. NATO is supposed to be a partnership. If you're not going to pay, we're not going to protect you. You know, Trump's, his book was the art of the deal. If you don't pay, hold up your end of the bargain. It's over. Like, this was how he pitched himself, being able to deal with the complex issues. I'm a deal maker. I make these deals. Now that brings us to the end of the show for this week. Now I'll see you all tomorrow night for the theorists. Now I will put the link into the chat here, because remember, the theorists is on a different YouTube, Rumble, and Odyssey channel. Now I do, since our move to the Unshackled's move to Substack, I do send out an email alert whenever there's a live show, but it's important also to click the bell to allow notifications on YouTube, Odyssey, or Rumble. So the Unshackled Substack, the unshackled.net .substack.com. That's where I'm posting all of our Unshackled productions now, and you can also support our work through a $5 per month membership, $50 per month for a yearly membership, or $500 per year for a founding membership. I'll put the link into the live chat. Yes, I'll put into the description as well, and also still have the Unshackled membership on the Unshackled website. So we've still got the website as well as a central hub as well, via the unshackled.net/membership. So there we go. $5 bronze per month, silver $10 per month, gold $25 per month, platinum $50 per month. So I'll see you all for the Theorists tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Melbourne time, on the Theorist YouTube, Odyssey, and Rumble channel. More reports from Richard Molson. Report from Tiger Mount with Richard Wollstonecroft later this week. And also this Sunday, I'll have a Wilms Front, 9 p.m. Melbourne time, on the Wilms Front channels with Melinda Richards, a Australian freedom activist on Twitter X, and also the author of You Can't Say That. So good night, everybody. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow night. Tim's News Explosion. 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 Tim's News Explosion.